So the first thing we're going to start with is operations with integers. So basically adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing integers. Okay. Let's first define what the word integer means. Do you guys know what integer represents, or what is it? What's the word integer mean? Okay. So the word integers, they are the set of whole numbers. Okay. So any whole number was number that does not have a decimal. Okay. So 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 500, 725. These are numbers that are whole numbers. There's no decimal. We call them integers, which include positive numbers and negative numbers. So negative 27 is an integer. Okay, and the number 0. So the number 0 is also considered to be an integer. Okay, so it's a set of, let's say, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., all the way to infinity. Okay, so integer represents whole numbers, no decimal, from negative infinity, so the smallest negative whole number that you can have, to the biggest positive number you can have. All right. So I'm adding two integers here. Okay? If the sign are the same, then the sum will have the same sign. Okay? So for example, if I have 7 plus 4, they're both positive number, right? 7 is a positive number, 4 is a positive number. 7 plus 4 gives me positive 11, right? So you see that your answer is the same sign as the 7 and the 4, right? Now what if I have -7 plus -4? What is that equal to? -11, right? Both of them have the sign negative, right? So I'm going to add them, but the sign is going to be negative because both of them have a negative sign. Okay? Can you give me another example with both negative numbers? Give me an example. -5 plus -8. What is the answer for this? Positive 13? It's 13. Positive or negative? Negative 13. Okay? Because they're both negative numbers. If the signs are different, then the sum will have the sign of the larger number. So, if I have 7 plus -3. So what's 7 plus -3? Positive. Okay, let's look at it this way. You're on the 7th floor and you're adding -3, okay? So that means you're going down 3, right? Or if you are on the number line, 7, right? And then you're adding -3. That means you're moving backward 3. 1, 2, 3, right? So that takes you to 4, okay? So it's positive 4 because the bigger number is positive. So that means your answer is going to be positive. Okay? So 7 plus negative 3 is a positive 4. What if I had negative 7 plus 3? What's negative 7 plus 3? Number one, is it going to be positive or negative? Negative, because your bigger number is negative, right? And it's going to be negative 4. Okay? So in this case, you're subtracting the numbers, and then you're looking at the one that has the biggest value. That's going to be the sign of the answer. What's 10 plus negative 5? -5, right? It won't be minus because the 10 is a positive, right?
Right.
Are we okay with this? Okay, so for this example, when subtracting two integers, add the opposite. I don't want to per se, I don't like this specific wording here, but here's an example. What if I have 7 minus negative 2? Do you have calculators? 9. How is it 9? 2 negatives equal a positive. Yeah, you said it backwards. Yeah. So you see how you have two negatives right after each other? They make a positive. Okay? So instead of writing it this way, you're going to write it as 7 plus 2. It's like me saying to you, I am not going to school, which means I am going, right? Whenever you have two negatives right after each other, it's a positive. Okay? So that's the same thing as saying 7 plus 2, which is 9. Okay? Let's look at another example here. So if I have negative 3 minus negative 5. There's too many minuses and negatives. Okay, how would you simplify this? Now, tell me first, what do I write? Negative 3 plus 5, because I have two negatives right after each other. Okay? You're at negative 3, and you're adding 5. Where do you go? What is it? Positive or negative? Positive, because the bigger number is positive. So it's going to be 2. Okay? I mean, you're never going to be, I'm never going to take away the calculator from you. So if you're not sure, always put your answer in the calculator. Okay? So here's what I want you to think about when you're doing subtraction and addition and whatever. Subtraction and addition. I'm just going to add a page here. I'll come back to this page. So let's say you have the number line. You guys know what a number line is, right? Yes? Okay. So with the number line, and so on and so forth. So if you're at, let's say if you have this question, you have negative 4 plus 7. Okay? Where do you start? Where do you start on the number line? You have negative 4 plus 7. Start at negative 4. And then which way do you go since you're adding? To the right. So I'm going to have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the right. So my answer is going to be 3. Okay? So if you're adding, you move to the right. Okay? If you're subtracting, you move to the left. So let's look at this question. If I have 9 take away 4, where do I start? On what number? 9. On 9. And since I'm taking away 4, which way do I move? Left. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is a positive 5. Yep. Are we okay with that? Okay. So if you're stuck, use a number line. If you don't have a calculator. Okay. Just so you know that a number line, if you're adding, you're moving to the right. If you're subtracting, you're moving to the left. Are we good with that? All right. Okay. So when multiplying or dividing integers, if the two integers have, let's start with the same sign. Have the same sign. Then your answer is going to be positive. Okay? So let's look at an example. Remember that I'm multiplying or dividing. Okay? So if I have 2 times 3, what does that give me? 6. Positive, positive, my answer is positive, yes? Good. What if I have negative 2 times negative 3? Positive 6. Negative and negative makes a positive. Okay? So remember, if you're multiplying and you have the same sign, then you're going to end up with a positive. Okay? Are we okay with that? Yeah. So a positive times a positive is a positive, and negative times a negative is a positive. That goes also with a division. Same thing. Okay? So if I have a positive divided by a positive, I'm going to have a positive, and a negative divided by a negative, it's going to be a positive. Now, if two integers have opposite sign or different signs, then the answer is negative. Okay? So, here's an example. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay? Why? Because one is positive, the other one is negative. Right? A positive and a negative makes a negative. How about if I have negative 3 times 2? Or, sorry, negative 2 times 3? Same thing, negative 6, right? Because one of them is negative and the other is positive. So if I have a negative times a positive, that's a negative, and a positive times a negative, that's a negative. So this is what you have here on that green sheet. Okay, so a negative times a negative is positive, a positive times a negative is negative, negative times a positive is negative, and a positive times a positive is positive. Okay, so they're right here. So remember, if they are the same sign, the answer is going to be positive. If they're different sign, the answer is going to be negative. Okay? Are we okay with that? Now, most of the time, we're not going to have just two things multiplied together or two things added or two things subtracted, right? We're going to have multiple operations happening at the same time. And when evaluating expression, you need to follow the order of operation. Okay, so there is an order things happen with. The same as when you're cooking, right? You can't do something before something else. You can't put the cake in the oven before you mix it with the eggs and whatever, right? So you have to follow a certain order. Same with math. So you need to follow we call them the order of operation. We use the acronym called BEDMAS. You've heard of BEDMAS before? What does BEDMAS stands for? Brackets, exponent, division, multiplication, adding, subtraction. Good. So that's the order that you're going to follow. Okay? B stands for brackets. So first you're going to simplify inside the bracket. Followed by the exponents. Okay, so whatever you have an exponent, you're going to do that. Now, division and multiplication, it depends on how they appear in the equation. Whatever happens first in the equation, you're going to do it first. So if multiplication happens first, you do multiplication, then you do division, or vice versa. Okay? So division, multiplication. In the order they appear. And then you have addition, subtraction, again, same thing. Okay? So this is where BEDMAS, BEDMAS, comes from. So if I'm looking at the first example, which is -7 plus 2 in bracket times 4. What do you have to do first? I have to do the bracket first, right? What's inside the bracket? What's -7 plus 2? -5, right? Because I am at -7, that's a bigger number, so it's going to be -5. I don't like to put the equal sign at the end. I usually put the equal sign at the beginning. Okay, so equal to -5 times 4. Okay, what's -5 times 4? -20. Okay, So my answer here says the answer is negative 20, and I had to follow BEDMAS to get it. Okay? Let's look at how this answer would be different if I didn't have the brackets, or if I did not follow BEDMAS, or whatever. So if I did not have the brackets, if I had this, what would you have done first? 2 times 4, because BEDMAS says you have to do the multiplication before you do the addition, right? In this case, I don't have any brackets, right? I have negative 7 plus 2 times 4. BEDMAS says I have to do the multiplication first. So that means I have to do 2 times 4, which is 8. Negative 7 plus 8 is 1. So you see how the two answers are different. They're not the same. Okay? So it's important, if we need to include that bracket, it's important to include it. Make sense? Let's look at the second one. Where do you start? Do you have brackets? No, so I can skip that. What comes after bracket? Exponents, right? Where do I have exponents here? 2 to the power of 2. Okay, do you guys know how to do power on the calculator? So get your calculators out, please. Okay, if we don't have a good calculator, if we only have our phone, we need to buy a good calculator. Okay, so on your calculator or your phone for now, you should have a button that either look like x to the power of y, so it looks like this, or like this, one or the other, or you have something that looks like this. Yeah, you have to move it sideways, and then you should have, no, you have x to the power of 2, but technically this is the one that is not only to the power of 2. That's for everything. Yeah. Yeah, that's only for the square, but this one is for everything. So if you have, let's say, 2 to the power of 7, right, you're going to have to do 2, this one, 7. Okay? So, yeah. So you're going to do, how do you delete this? AC? Just do AC. Okay, so you do 2, and then power 2. Oops, I pressed 3. I have nails. Okay, you got it? You know which button you're using? You know which button? Okay. So it's this button right here. So you do 2, this button 2. Do you have a calculator? Okay. So, yeah. Okay. You got it? All right. So on the calculator, you're going to do 2 to the power of 2. So you're going to press 2, and then either the hat or the XY or whatever, and then you're going to press 2. You got 4. Okay, so that's our first step. Again, I'm going to cross that equal sign here. I'm going to put it here. 16 divided by 4 times 5 minus 4. Okay, so the only thing I changed so far is the 2 squared, and I calculated it to be 4. What would be the next thing that I have to do?
Is that minus 4 or equals 4?
Minus 4. What's the next thing that I have to do? Division. Why division and not the multiplication? There is a division first, right? If I had the multiplication first and then a division, I would have to do the multiplication. Okay? From left to right, division is first, so I have to do my division first. So what's 16 divided by 4? 4. Okay? So then I did this to give me 4. After, what do? The multiplication, so 4 times 5. Now I can do them all together. 3 plus 20 is 23. Take away 4, that's 19. Okay, so I had to follow bad math. I had to show my steps one by one. Now here's what I want you to do. For the next one, you're going to have to do the top by itself. You're going to have to calculate the bottom by itself, so as 2 separate equations, okay? And then you're going to do your division. That means division. That whole line here means division, okay? So tell me what you would do for the top. Tell me what you would do for the bottom. Do it, and then do the whole division. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do this.